and she can share her screen. We will run through these. And Karen, I'm going to have to ask you to advance the slides, and I'm going to have to modify them as we go. And we are starting in the middle. Can we get to the beginning? Back and back and back and back, back and back. Couple more. This is session 1. You've already renamed yourself and you've received the workbook in chat. So next slide. What's wrong with meetings and what are the best meeting practices? Those are the 2 things that we're going to focus on during this slide deck. And everyone's had an opportunity to talk about who they are and the kinds of meetings they enjoy, most of which seem to be Toastmasters meetings. So next slide. There are barriers to good meetings, and some of them you'll identify more of them as you go on. You've probably identified a lot of them in the past. And so what does it take to have an effective meeting? How do you overcome those barriers? And then the strategies that you can put in place before, during, and after a meeting to ensure that you have effective meetings. Karen, next slide. So what's wrong with meetings? I love this slide. And I looked at it the first time and I thought, what are they talking about? And then I realized there's this person sitting with a bunch of chairs that are empty. Sometimes that's exactly how you feel in a meeting. You're the only one who's actually there. Everyone else is hiding behind their camera or doing something different. I used to be criticized fairly often at meetings because I often knit in a meeting where I'm not leading. I'm there to learn or absorb or to facilitate, and I'll knit because I listen better when I have something to do with my hands. I speak better when my hands are free, but I listen better when my hands are engaged. And I'm not watching other people and looking for their response when I'm actually absorbing, sponging material. So what's wrong with meetings? Sometimes we can't sponge. Sometimes there's nobody there that's truly engaged. And there are a lot of other things. Next slide. This said breakout rooms, but I think we're a small enough group that we'll stay together and we will do this as a group. Yeah, so we're going to go back to the workbook and you're going to have not 10 minutes because we've already started on page 2. Next slide. What are those things that are ineffective during a meeting? Anybody, just shout out and we'll take the interruption.
What I hate.
All right, we've got too many people shouting out at once. I'm going to have to do this by hands or, all right, Kelly, I see your hand.
What I hate about some meetings, and it is a late start and a late end. I know at our talk of the town, we start promptly at 7, and we promise our guests they'll be out of there at 8 because they might have to go to work. So I think that's one thing that's really important is to even if people are late, you start that meeting and end it promptly.
Thanks. Nancy, I heard your voice.
Sidebar conversations.
Oh, one of the things that I've heard more than once is cell phones, people on their cell phones. Pam, what have you got on your mind?
I was going to say lack of an agenda or not sticking to the agenda, but boy, the cell phone one, that's another one.
Yeah. Sean, did you have something?
Yeah, I was going to say when you have a meeting member that is rambling without any real purpose to the whole group, they're concentrating on one particular area or item that might be benefit of 1 or 2 people, but the rest of the people are just kind of going, okay, well, that doesn't apply to me. I'm trying to, like myself, I'm just trying to see how does that apply to me? And it's totally off tangent from the purpose of the meeting.
Yeah. Deanne, did you have something to contribute?
I did not, but I think one important thing is, as Kelly had said, is being on time and ending on time. We need to respect each other's time.
Yeah, I think that's an important one. Anybody else? Have to kind of scroll through to make sure I'm not missing somebody. Oh, I see Ed has his cat. Next slide, please. Okay, these are the shortcomings of meetings that Toastmasters had described. And again, when you're sitting in a room, are you there because you want to be and you want to contribute to the agenda? Or are you just there because somebody told you you should be? I think that meetings are too long. Meetings can be called for 5 minutes. Stand-up meetings are one of those solutions where you just say, okay, everybody come in, we're going to do this. And in 5 minutes, you're done. I'll tell you about an example later that I have. People wandering off the topic. I think Sean mentioned that one. Nothing happens once the meeting ends. This is a real critical one. And I think it's one that we as leaders in Toastmasters need to pay attention to. People don't tell the truth. People don't even tell you what's on their mind. So much of the agenda stays under the table, and you may not be able to address it at this meeting, but you can put it in a parking lot and come back to it. But if people have things going on that they're not willing to tell the truth about, that they're not willing to bring up, you're going to deal with them over and over and over again. Crucial decisions are postponed. I just went through a year and a half where we spent 7 months getting to a decision that was really made in the first 2 weeks, and we just couldn't get it made. And people make the same mistakes and meetings never get better. We're going to talk about how to address that one. Hopefully I'll remember to do that. Next slide. So this is the list of what Toastmasters finds as the 7 shortcomings, and it says strategically plan your meetings. I'm going to give you an example. I work with a group, and we have a monthly meeting, and it's basically a meeting to share information. There usually aren't a lot of decisions that need to be made, but there's progress and programs to be discussed. And the meeting is supposed to be an hour. It frequently went to an hour and a half. And I finally said, we need to build an agenda that has the times built in so that people know they only have 7 minutes for this, or they only have 5 minutes for that. And then you can stop the tangent with we're running out of time. You can keep people focused and on track if your agenda is timed. We tried it once. The meeting lasted exactly an hour. We tried it a second time. The meeting lasted exactly an hour, and people were surprised. The agenda didn't shrink. Same stuff got covered. Decisions got made. It was just simply saying, this is the beginning and the ending. As Kelly said, it's important to start and stop on time. And if people have a clear expectation of what's supposed to happen, they'll make that work. Next slide. This is the best practices meeting slides. Next one. Next slide. Okay. So now we're going to go back to the workbook. And I'm trying to find, okay, the 7 shortcomings of meetings. Again, I can refresh you on those. How many meetings have you been in that went too long? How many meetings have you been in where people weren't taking the meeting seriously? Sean, you had an example from your work. You want to share that with us now?
Yes, it was quite interesting as the starting and stopping on time. The meeting was planned for 1 hour, and it did last for 1 hour. However, the coordinator of the meeting says these meetings usually last about 10 minutes. And so anyway, it was going along pretty good. They're going through the schedule. And then it got to the point where it was talking about the area that I'm involved in. I'm somewhat matrixed for a special activity because they needed an engineer to work on this, and the other engineer is not available to do it. So I said, sure, I'll help out with it. Well, they were talking about one particular item on the schedule, and they kept going on and on and on. And it was like, why don't you two talk separately on that one item? Let me get back to my work and spend that half hour that was spent trying to figure out what was going on to actually work on the activity you wanted me to work on. So that's my example.
Yeah, I have been in meetings where an individual will go off on a tangent and it's really hard to bring them back. And one of the things I worked on really hard when I was employed was we would have big meetings and the leader of the group would try and run the meeting. And I kept saying, you have an agenda. You've built an agenda. Can you let someone else run the meeting so that you can contribute to the agenda and make someone else responsible for running the meeting? It's called facilitation. And a facilitator can help with, Sean, we realize this is a specialized topic for you. Why don't you go work on that? And we'll have these two people go into a breakout room, as it were, and work on their problem. Or, we don't have time for that issue today. Can we put it in the parking lot and come back to it in the future? And then it's the responsibility, whoever parked that idea, to make sure it comes back, because otherwise you're not telling the truth. People have to be honest. Anybody else have an example of when a meeting goes bad, how you might be able to bring it back on track? Ed.
One of the things, and I apologize, because the last few years I've been working mainly with the prison clubs, but it's interesting. The gentleman that I work with down there, they are obviously very regulated with their time. And it's really easy to hold a meeting at a certain amount of time because that's all they have. Then they're released at a certain time to come to the meeting, and then they're recalled to go back to their units. But we have one individual that he was a little, I won't say completely, but a little mentally disabled.
Mm.
And he had a tendency to quote Bible verses during the meeting. And it was rather interesting when you had somebody giving a presentation and all of a sudden from the corner, you hear Rick say, and the Lord said, and that would be it. There wouldn't be anything else. And we got to the point where the speakers really learned how to tune him out, and they just smoothed right over it. And eventually the peer pressure or peer support, if you will, started moving to the point of saying, Rick, and that's enough. And you would watch, and as the gentleman would come into the room, they would go over and greet him individually and say, thanks for coming tonight. I'll try to remember, you're not supposed to talk when other people are talking. And after about 6 months, I mean, he was quiet as a mouse, but he would get up and do table topics, and it was very hard for him to do any presentations, but he would give it a shot.
Yeah. I mean, these are, this is part of the reasons I still volunteer out at the prison clubs. Is part of the reason I still do youth leadership, is that it is, to me, so inspiring to watch a group in a meeting take charge and manage their time and manage their responses. I think that's one of the nicest things that happens in a meeting, is when the group becomes a unit, a form, and can manage itself. And that's a really good example of the members of that group saying, we've got a person here we really want to include, but we really need to modify some behavior. And they did it. And they did it without anger. They were civil. Let me say that. They were civil. Anybody else got some examples? Jacob, I see a hand in the air.
Yes, so in my morning meetings, it's crucial that we end on time. We have a few people who have to leave at 7:50, not 7:51. They have to be out the door, and we do not want our meetings to have to adjourn after they leave. We have a couple of gentlemen in our club, bless their hearts, they love to tell stories, and I don't mean as speeches or as table topics. They like to tell these impromptu anecdotes, and they're never brief. They kind of have a tendency to go on and on and on and on, which throws our whole meeting off. And you can tell they love telling their stories. And the president of our club has a personality a little different than our dear friend Brenda. She's just too much of a sweetheart to do anything. She said, "What do I do? What do I do?" And I said, "You take that gavel, which is your symbol of your power and authority, which will soon be my symbol of power and authority, and you use that gavel and get it back in control." Because then they know, okay, whoops, we're going too far. And we've done way better. She actually addressed this. We end on time, maybe sometimes a minute late, and it really worked. No more ending 10 minutes late. So that gavel really works. Use it.
And I think the gavel's one approach. There's another one that you just have to interrupt. There's another one where, and I'm working on my new talking stick, but I worked in big groups where we had to go around and you hand the talking stick off. It's your turn. And if somebody has it, you reach for it. If they're done in your mind, I have something to say, can I have the talking stick? That's helpful. Nancy.
Oh, I was just going to mention one other thing that our Airway Heights Club has done in the past for managing speakers who go too long. And that is the timer has the responsibility at the point when the speaker has gone 30 seconds past their maximum time, the timer will start clapping, and then the entire room starts clapping. And everyone just says, and that's it. So it's a way to get them off, and yet it's a grateful way to be able to still recognize the message that they provided. And honestly, it does not happen that often, but it's just, on the one-offs when it happens, when somebody different comes in that is not a regular attendee, they are definitely recognized that, oh, I really have limited time and I need to respect that.
Yeah. And I love the way they always announce it. So this is your time. And at the end of 3 minutes, if you're still talking, I'll start to clap and we will clap you off. And they just get louder and louder until the person stops. Yeah, it's very polite. Can we have the next slide, please? So when you are looking to bring a group together, you need to reflect before the meeting happens. And I'm going to talk a little bit, next slide, please, about scheduling for area and division meetings. Next slide. Next slide. Okay. You have 5 minutes to do an assessment. We're going to do it together as a group. It's not in the chat. Next slide. And then what is next slide is the one that I really was looking for, because there are several things that are next in your lives. One, you're going to be scheduling division meetings. When you schedule those meetings, whether it's monthly or quarterly or weekly or hourly, however that schedule takes place, set a schedule so people know when they're going to happen, and we'll put them on their calendars and hopefully set their alarms so they don't forget them and show up. And if there's no substance for the meeting when the day and time arrives that it's scheduled, cancel it. There's nothing wrong with canceling a meeting. If there's substance, you have things you want to communicate, things you want to share, things you want to know, things that need to happen, make sure you have an agenda that sets those out. Make sure that that agenda is timed. And if it turns out that you've set 5 minutes and the topic is really robust and people are going on, then stop them at the end of 5 minutes and saying, I don't really want to end this. Is there something we can cut out of today's meeting so we can finish this discussion and wrap it up? pay attention to where the juice is in your meetings and take advantage of it and cut out the fluff if you have to. But again, as Kelly says, start them on time and stop them on time. So you're going to want to start to schedule those meetings. And I suggest that you schedule them monthly with your division director and your area directors so that you have an opportunity to just check in. Some of it's just camaraderie. Some of it's saying, how are you doing? Has there anything that's come up? Do you have any new suggestions for building membership? It's that open kind of discussion that's important, but there can also be, have you started your club visits? Let's keep track. Let's follow through. Let's remember that if someone says we need to put an ad in the newspaper for that, you follow through with that and it doesn't fall through the cracks. That follow-up piece from meetings is incredibly important. And you have to remember you're part of a team, and that team doesn't exist for only the hour a month that you meet. That team exists every day, and you need to be a participant in that team. What's next is that we're going to have club officer training on the 25th of June, and you need to get in contact with the clubs that are in your area and make sure that the newly elected officers are aware of the fact that there's club officer training and that it's of value to them to attend. So those are the kinds of what is next. I'm going to give you in the chat my email. And if you have questions about meetings or you want some help with a meeting that you're trying to pull together, if you want to have meetings, and again, we're a small district. We don't typically, or I have not seen our area directors have area meetings. I think they're a really good idea, but I haven't seen them happen. Nancy, you've got your hand
I
in
just
the
wanted
air.
to ask, on the club officer training, is there a specific time yet for it? And is there an invitation or a sign-up link for people? So if they do want to get it on their calendars, they can?
Karen, you're still in charge. And she says yes.
All right, now that I can find my unmute button. Club officer training is scheduled for a 9 a.m. start on June 25th. The link is up in the district calendar. It has also been put on the district Facebook page and the district Facebook group. One of my objectives for this weekend is to get that information out to all of you and to throughout the district, so that way all the members know when this training happens, because they haven't necessarily submitted their district or the club officer list to TI, so I can't pull a selected list yet. So we want to make sure we get that information out fairly quickly. Details will be coming out as Vicki and I put them together.
Yeah. So my recommendation is something that I've been slow about, but I think the district calendar, which is on the district website, is one of those places that you should highlight in your online information, because that's where a lot of the communication is going to be coming from. And we're not used to using it that way. I'm not used to using it that way, but that's where it's coming from. And it's going to be important to check there. And Karen and I will continue, and Chuck, who is in Tennessee today, will continue to push things out on the massive scale when we can. But again, there's an email overload for many of us. Can't imagine that it's any less worse for people than it is for me. And so we're going to try and keep from the individual emails to go to the calendar. And now I just go to the calendar once a week and see what's new. What's new? Often there's nothing new, and that's good news for me, but not always the case.
Are we going to tell our members that that's what they have to do? They'll look at the calendar in order to determine whether there's some training that they need to attend?
No, we're gonna send that message out to members, but I get to the point where it's like, oh, there's training coming up. I got the message. It's in my email somewhere in that stack. Easier to go to the calendar and find it. So the calendar is where I go when the brain is tickling me and I can't find the background information. As you've seen rather clearly, I've lost background information again. I left it on the computer. Who knows where it got hidden when the computer went to sleep, it took my slides away.
Okay, well, I think that's great, but as long as we still inform, because I don't think most members, I know I never looked at the district calendar.
Yeah, and I think,
myself.
and Brenda, I'm going to say this. I get too many messages, and sometimes one message is good, 7 messages is clutter. But it's the tickle is there. So where do I go to solve the tickle? I go to the district calendar, and now I just go there kind of automatically. I don't want to miss things, and the district calendar is one way for me to not miss stuff. And it is where Karen and I will be putting lots of stuff, and then trying to. I haven't figured out the communication piece yet, because I don't want to over communicate. I don't want to under communicate. Where is that Goldilocks point in communication? And I don't know that we'll find it, but we'll be working toward that Goldilocks point of communication. Any questions about responsibilities? I have a couple of notions for you that I pulled up yesterday. Everyone should have a copy on their computer of the district leader handbook. It's 100 and some pages. You don't need to print it. Put it in your file someplace. Save that document, the district leader handbook. It is your guidance for the year. In that, there is a thing called the district timeline, which tells you month by month by month what the expectations are. Make sure you've got that in whatever form you need it, so that you can stay up to date and in touch. It breaks out all the tasks by function, by role. So there are specific ones for me. There are specific ones for area directors. There are specific ones for people who don't exist right now, like our finance director. But the district timeline is an important one. And there's one more that's on pages 15 through 18 of the handbook. And where's the other one? Okay. I believe that Beth is going to cover the dashboard, which is another place that I'm still learning about that I find very useful. And that's another one you want to pay attention to, is get to the dashboard and figure out what your clubs are doing. And there's a guide to the dashboard, which will help. I'm sure Beth's going to talk about that. And there was one other piece, and I'm not finding it right now. So if I find it, I'll bring it up when I find it. And if I don't find it, well, there's only so much you can absorb in a day. Oh, there it is. Okay. In the handbook, in the district leaders handbook, on page 19, right after the calendar, there's a roles checklist. And those of you who have not served in an area director's or division director position in the past will find on page 20 those very few things that you are responsible for doing. And then you can compare that to the calendar. It's all in the handbook. Pages 15 through 19 are pages that I would take a close, 15 through 20 are pages I would take a close look at as you start your year. I think I didn't introduce myself particularly well at the beginning. That's one of the things I really like to have happen at the beginning of a meeting, is introductions. My name is Vicki Luba. I've been a Toastmaster for about 13 years. Jackie is credited with encouraging me to finish my DTM after 11 years, because she was going to beat me and she was my protege, and I wasn't going to let that happen. Yeah, yes, exactly, Jacob. What? Yeah, you can find inspiration wherever you can. So I do have a DTM. I'm working on a second one. I am retired and busier than I thought I could possibly be, and enjoying every minute of it. I'm really looking forward to the coming year. Karen, it's up to you now. I'm done.
All right. Thank you, Victoria, for a great session. Since we're running a few minutes ahead of time, let's take a pause and come back at 10:15 to start the next session on the area director expectations.
Yeah, she recognized.
And we will be on our way. All right, welcome everyone. We're at the area director expectations session. We're going to start right off. We're going to be talking about how you make an impact in your area and the roles around you. And away we go. Our objectives are to recognize the relationships with the stakeholders and leaders in the district. And if you notice, that's a little bit redundant because the leaders in the district are also stakeholders. If you're a member of Toastmasters in this district, you are a stakeholder. And a stakeholder means that you have a vested interest in what's going on and have a relationship with all the other people in your district. We're going to discuss the recognition of importance of supporting the roles and in fulfilling their job and identifying the expectations of the area directors. First off, making an impact in your area. This role is uniquely positioned to make a difference in the district. You will work closely with all the other key leaders in the district, and you are the one who works one-on-one with your clubs. You're that first layer of interface, as it were, between the clubs and their members and the district. So let's take a look at what that role is. What are meaningful impacts that an area director can make on the communication between the clubs in their area? And what do you think can be a delivery method for that impact? And let's just have a free-form discussion here. Raise your hand and we'll get started. Go ahead, Ed.
Area councils,
Very good.
very effective.
Anything else? Anyone? Nancy?
I'm thinking it's important to visit the clubs more than once or twice a year, because the best way to build rapport with the club is to be present there and learn what their expectations are, and then figure out how the district can help to support them best.
Thank you, Nancy. Sean, I think I saw your hand.
Yeah, Nancy stole my answer. It was club visits.
Very good. Thank you. Kelly, did I see your hand?
Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, I haven't read the handbook yet, but my vision, as soon as possible, arranging a personal visit to go to a meeting and just observe what they're doing and kind of get to know their culture and their personalities a little bit before I start slapping them around. I mean,
Very
to add creative ways to maybe improve themselves and membership and stuff. But yeah, just kind of get to know them first. I think that would be important.
Very good. Thank you, Kelly. Pam?
Another piece of area visits to the clubs is, I think, if we bring them news of what's going on at the division or the district level or whatever, it helps them to see that there is more than just their little group of 6 or 8 or 10 people in Toastmasters, that there's more to the whole organization.
Excellent. Thank you, Pam. Vicky Luba?
I was going to follow up on what Ed said about area councils, and I have not seen them, and I think they would work really well. That's what I'm trying to get to, is that when you have an area council, but again, with Kelly, you go to the meeting, you meet the leadership of that club, you invite the club presidents to an area council meeting with a bit of rapport previously established. And then you have an opportunity to give that leadership some leadership role, tell me about your club. So I think that council with the with the personal rapport, it's really, really helpful.
Excellent. Thank you, Vicki. All right, next up. What about a meaningful impact between the area director and the club presidents? Brenda?
If you have periodic phone communications with the president, you can probably find out what's going on. Or that also looking at the dashboard and seeing what clubs have done, especially the special reports. So you can look there and find out which clubs haven't turned in their club officer list, and you can let them know what the impact is of not having your club officer list in, and try to encourage them to get that submitted.
Excellent. Thank you, Brenda. Kelly?
Well, it's something I should have mentioned. I thought with the presidents, I've been with our club for 3 years. I was president last year, but we had 2 other presidents, and each one had their own goals. So I think maybe say, hey, president, what's your goals for the next 6 months? What obstacles have you seen that you want to try to overcome? And if I find the tools that maybe help them overcome them, if it's a membership that they're having, retaining membership, keeping people on their pathways and growth. I don't know. We just find out what that is and then provide the tools and coaching, if that would do well, help them do that.
Excellent. Thank you. Pam?
I was going to say, I think one of the biggest things that I experienced as a club president was just knowing that there was backup there, that there was a person right there that I could ask questions to. And in order to do that, you have to have that relationship, which again comes back to visiting the club more than once a year, getting involved, letting them know that you're there, that the whole organization is there for them, really.
Excellent. Thank you. All right, now let's take a look at the achievement of the member goals within the area. What are your thoughts and ideas on this aspect of the area director role? Ed?
One of the things is you have to understand what their goal is. Each individual member has a specific goal, and you need to know what those are before you start establishing your goals. And once that happens, then you can start working with in-club mentors with each other. Just having people work with other members to see what they want to do, and posting that chart, even the pathways chart, the new one, showing where they are and what they need to do. You put that up on the wall during every meeting. People can glance at it and say, hey, Jim, you only need 2 more things and you're done. So the encouragement is there. That area director needs to follow up with that by he could have that chart, that pathways chart for each area, each of the clubs in his area, see where they're going, make those periodic visits, phone calls, whatever they're allowed to do, or how they're allowed to do it. May just be by correspondence.
Excellent. Thank you, Ed. Nancy?
I just think it's important too, as an area director, you see the people who are the standout people in the different clubs, and to encourage them into whatever they want to accomplish, whether it's competition or leadership, but to help keeping them engaged, knowing that there's a world beyond the club that they can continue their growth is important to keep them engaged.
Excellent. Thanks, Nancy. Next up is the alignment between the area director and the upstream leadership layers, whether that's the division, the district, the trio. There's lots of other layers, including the international level, whether perhaps someone wants to become a region advisor or an international director, or even take on international executive levels. Unless we talk with them, we won't know. So how can an area director make an impact on people, on the alignment between all these different layers of leadership and opportunities? Sean?
I'll take a stab at this one. Area directors are important because in a sense, they're the eyes and ears of the districts. They're the ones that are most in contact with the clubs. And it's an opportunity for the area directors to relay that information to the division directors and trio, especially when clubs are struggling or having any problems. That's an opportunity to let the district know that the club's having some problems and need some assistance, maybe a club coach. Or if a club is doing something that's really successful, something that they're doing that's really good, that the area directors can share with the other district officers on those successes. That's my thoughts.
Excellent. Thank you, Sean. Pam, I think, was it your hand I saw?
It was, we just got clock time. But what, what I was going to say, it kind of goes back to what Ed said about goals. And maybe this means working more with VPs of E in another way, but I see people join Toastmasters and kind of wander around and maybe attend meetings for 3 or 4 months and then sort of stop. And I think if they could see clearly that there are more opportunities, specific opportunities, and if we could help them identify specific goals, even with the paths that are out there, there's still, what is it that you know, if you could help people to articulate what is it that you intend to get out of your membership, especially for a new person. And this is how, these are the opportunities in Toastmasters for you to get there. I think maybe that also would help us with some of our retention issues. I'm not sure.
Excellent. Thank you, Pam. Brenda?
You had a couple of other hands up. Go
Okay.
ahead.
All right. Vicky Luba.
It occurs to me that I spent, okay, I think I want to go back. I believe Sean was the district governor in 2009, 2010. I never heard his name. Not only did I not hear his name, I'd been a Toastmaster for a couple of years and I had no idea that there was anything outside my club. I mean, I kind of knew that, but I think one of the things our directors can do, and I'm working on a pocket speech, is to say, I have a pocket speech if you need a speaker, and bring in a speech that says, what is Toastmasters International? And just build your speech around this organization that is worldwide with 300 and some thousand members and, you know, numerous clubs and beautiful graphics and maps, and just do a 5 to 7 minute speech on Toastmasters International and how the organization is in the worldwide way.
Thanks, Vicky. Deanne.
So this is my very first time being an era director. And what I've noticed that we can have a meaningful impact. So as someone that is new, what I probably would like to see is how is the connection and who am I supposed to be, who is my division director, like the name of that person. So I think on the district website, if we can have like almost like a Venn diagram or a map that says president, then area director, and who is that area director, and then who's that division, so that I know who is my chain of command. Because right now, I'm not sure who's my chain of command. I did try on several occasions checking on the district website if I could find out who's in the area and who is the chain of command. So I think if we have that updated every year, or even provide that to each club president, they will actually know that their thoughts, their concern, there is a progression of who it actually goes to.
Excellent idea. Thank you very much, Deanne. I've made a note of that as something for us to work on in the coming weeks. Next up.
Sean is your division director.
Excellent. Thanks, Brenda.
But Sean and I will also probably work team tag a little bit with divisions A and B.
Excellent. Teamwork is always how we make the dream work. Copy that from somebody else much more clever than I am. So let's take a look back. As an area director, you want to have a positive impact wherever you possibly can. And however that's going to look for your contacts each time you touch a club, whether it's the president or maybe you're talking with a member who is not a club officer. However that contact with the club looks, try to have a positive impact on them and focus really on the areas that you can have the most significant impact. So as you're interacting with your clubs, make a list, here's all the different ways. What's going to have the most meaningful impact? And then work your way down from there. Don't waste all your time on small little things like, resolving, what time of day to contact someone is not going to be as imperative as the bigger issues that are facing a club. How to get members, how to prevent members from leaving. Those are the big issues that all of our clubs are facing right now. We're down to 43 clubs that are in good standing, and we have to have 60 as a minimum to remain a district. And with the levels of turnover, we should have more than the bare minimum at any given time. So we've got a lot of issues that we have to focus on. We have to build clubs, but we need to save the clubs that we have and get more members to them so people aren't burned out. People shouldn't have to take the same roles year over year over year because there's no one else to take them. So we've got a multi-pronged issue. And as area directors, touching those clubs, finding out what at any given time is their most pressing need, and focusing on the bigger issues, and then trickle through with some of the smaller things that are happening. Prioritize your focus. Make sure that they get the information that they need. If there's contests coming up, making sure that they know that when the contests are happening, when is training going to happen. You're not limited to just 2 official visits a year. You only submit 2 written reports a year. But keep that contact with your clubs ongoing. Set up an area council where you're meeting with your club president and VPE on whatever basis makes sense for your group. That way you can stay in contact with what's going on, where are they at, how they could need some help, whatever you want to discuss. Maybe it's just a 5-minute touch base once a month, or maybe you need to have a bigger meeting. Work with your division directors to stay in contact so they know what's happening and can pass that information on. You're going to be responsible for speech contests for your areas. And that will be a subject of training later in the year. Right now, the focus needs to be on making that initial contact and introducing yourselves to your clubs and setting up a routine so that way you can have just visits just to come and say, hi, how are you? Here's who I am. And then make a specific appointment for the official, I'm the area director doing your official visit today. That way everyone stays on the same page, and the official visit can be very fruitful. You have the visit report in the chat. Take time to look it over and make sure you understand it. Ask questions if there's anything that you are unclear or unsure about. And let's help make this year a great one. And we can rise from the ashes of where we are, because there's no place to go but up. I kind of touched a little bit on the roles that are going on. Let's take a look at the roles are going to be the ones you most rely upon. And I will throw this open, everyone. Yes, Ed.
I think all the roles are important in their own way. You need to make sure that you have people that know what they're doing, not only through training, but through experience. Unfortunately, what happens many times is that you have people that they keep the same roles year after year after year. I think, of course, the only one that you can't repeat right now is the president's role, which seems kind of silly to me, because the first year, once now you've got an idea of what's happening, and you can't do it again until another 6 months goes by or so. But you look at each one of the roles individually, and they all have important supportive areas.
All right, very good. Thank you, Ed. Anyone else?
I think one of the resources that's available to new area directors is former area directors who know the mistakes they made and the successes they had and how they worked. And I'm a great believer in what's called affinity groups. And that's where people who have the same job in different areas open lines of communication so they can ask each other questions and share information. So I would suggest that the area directors think about not just meeting with your division director or the other area directors in your division, but with area directors, the has-beens. And you're going to be meeting with club leadership. Those are the future. And you can use them for inspiration, ideas, and things that work. One of the things I found that was pretty successful when we were looking to recruit new members was to use community newsletters. Find out what community newsletters work in your club areas and make contact with those and see if you can get a meeting announcement on their websites, on their community newsletter sites. See if that produces new members. There are lots of opportunities. It's just hard sometimes to identify them. So it's nice to have other people working with you.
Excellent. Thank you, Vicki. Yes, Ed. Ed, go ahead. You're on mute.
Karen?
Please go ahead, sir.
Well, one of the other things too, as far as I know, we haven't used it in a number of years, is the free radio advertising that you could get. Now, unfortunately, sometimes it only shows up at 3 o'clock in the morning, but there are a lot of people that are up at 3 o'clock in the morning listening. And you can either get recorded information or tapes from TI, or you could do your own. And in years past, I've done with local stations here, make contact with them, and then the guy talks to you on the phone. You send him, in my case, I sent him about 10 questions so that I knew the answers and he knew the questions. And then they had a time, and I actually went over to the radio station and we were on air live. And he would ask the questions and we go forward with it. And in those years when we started doing that, we had a number of people that did respond to the radio advertising. We got a few members out there.
Excellent. Thank you, Ed.
And it's free. That's what makes it happen better for the radio stations too.
Very good. I saw someone else had a hand up. No. All right, then I'm going to move on to our next one. Which roles in the district do you most depend on to fulfill your responsibilities? So this goes back to what Deanne was asking about on that leadership hierarchy of how we pass information back and forth. So go ahead, Jacob.
Well, I would imagine it would have to be your direct report would be like your division director. Brenda's the one who really encouraged me to do this. So Brenda, if I have any problems, you're the first person I'm coming to for help. Help me, Brenda. Hopefully it'll be real smooth, but I'm lucky. Brenda has basically done it all. So I have a wonderful advisor. And if I do have any issues or problems, I can go right to her.
Excellent. Thank you, Jacob. Anyone else? All right. Well, I will point out something very special and unique about this leadership team for this year. All 4 of our division directors are past district governors. So they really have done all the roles. They have a significant amount of experience and will be an excellent resource, not just for you as area directors, but for those of us on the trio as we encounter things that we haven't experienced before or have questions about. We have a very experienced team of people that we can ask who have done this before. So they are an exceptional resource, and I encourage you to make use of your time and interaction with them to gain as much knowledge and understanding as you possibly can. So we've just covered who depends on you and who you can depend on as area directors. Knowing what you need to deliver and to whom, well, yes, that is a way to achieve success, but it also helps you to plot your course so you know what's supposed to happen, when it's supposed to happen, with whom and to whom it all goes. And we're doing all our best to make sure that you are all each successful as area directors and division directors, as the trio. Our goal is to have as successful a year as we possibly can. We will be touching on how to access Leadership Central and how you input your area director visit reports and all of those kinds of little nitty-gritty details at our July meeting. So here's a note for you to put for your calendars for the year. The 4th Saturday at 9 a.m. of each month, there will be 12 meetings, and these are called the DECM, D-E-C-M, because you are part of the District Executive Council, and we'll meet once a month and just touch base for about an hour. What's going well, where are there issues, and just share what we all have going on. Have little reminders of things like membership building contests, deadlines for different activities, and so forth. It'll change slightly from month to month depending on activities. I am initially expecting about an hour. Sometimes it will go shorter, sometimes it'll go longer. And if it falls on a holiday or we don't have anything we need to touch base on, maybe we'll cancel it. We'll take it on a month-by-month basis. More training will happen in the fall to set everyone up for a good contest season and to finish our year strong. So there'll be additional content coming for you. So look out for that information. And with that, what is the one thing that you have all learned as area directors that stands out for you for this year going forward? Kelly.
I like the idea. I didn't know, I haven't read the handbook yet, but I like the idea of, visiting the club at least once before you and get acquainted with them before you have an official club visit and let them know ahead of time, okay, this is my official visit. I just thought that's pretty useful to do that because I want to be involved in as much as I can with them. So I just thought that was a good tip right there.
Excellent. Thank you, Kelly. Anyone else? Yes, Jackie.
Thank you. I really like the comments about teamwork is how we make the dream work. And for us to make the dream work, I really feel like all of the members in all of our clubs need to understand the bigger picture. So one of the things I want to focus on is bringing that bigger picture to the clubs in my jurisdiction and helping them realize that there is something for everyone. You just need to decide what your something is to be.
Excellent. Thank you, Jackie. Beth.
I just wanted to share with you for our new areas, and I didn't even think about it till somebody said something that triggered this in my head. Do not assume that the club officers know who you are or what your role is. And you might want to explain that in your introductory visit that Kelly was talking about, that if you just go and visit, and I think that's a great idea, Karen, because none of us would like being graded the first time we meet somebody, right? So be sure and explain what your role is, that you're not there to do it for them. You're not there to be their parent. You're not there to do all of that, but you're there to be a support and the face of the district and just to help them in any way that they need. And I think that I just wanted to put that out there. I have seen that crash and burn before where a club president got very hostile because she didn't know why this person was showing up and grading her. So just be aware.
Excellent. Thank you, Beth. Anyone else?
Ed.
Jacob.
They say that teamwork makes the dream work, but to make our dreams come true, we have to have goals. And that means specific goals. And we're going to have goals on every level, individual goals, club goals, area goals. That's what makes your dreams come true, that and teamwork.
Excellent. Thank you, Jacob. Ed, was that you I heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Please.
Hang on a second. Get in. Sorry about that. Shoot, forgot what I was going to say now. Oh, on your area visits, make sure that you announce to the VPE and the president prior to your attempt that you would like to take 5 to 7 minutes and do a presentation. I found that each area director, whenever they made their visits, if they did a presentation, the intent was to show how it was to be done properly, to do away with the ahs and the ums and the I would like tos and those types of things. And the people in the club, especially the new members, would look at that and go, wow, I see that's how it's supposed to be done. And try to make that a habit so that when you do call or contact the club officer and you'd like to make a visit, they should eventually come to the point of saying, what is your presentation going to be? Do you have an introduction? And that's the other thing. Always make sure that you have some type of an introduction, not just I'm your area director. Have an introduction to your speech and try to have it, ask them to set it up towards the end of the meeting so that you don't take away from anything else. And if they say, well, our meetings are full with planned speeches, fine, but keep it in your back pocket. So that if you get there and if somebody says, oh, so-and-so canceled, you said that you might be able to do a speech rather than, yeah, I'll put something together. That is not a leadership quality that you want to display.
Excellent. Thank you, Ed. Very timely information. Brenda.
I think Toastmasters International also encourages area directors to provide educational presentations. And an example that we've used in the past is sharing the moments of truth if the club hasn't done it themselves, but sharing that presentation with the club. Or membership building. There's a variety of educational presentations Toastmasters has that can be helpful to a club in the Better Club series that you can choose from based on what you see the club needs. You know, you don't need to give them an educational presentation on the educational program if you see everybody doing their pathway speeches and they're strong in that area. So find out what the club could use and then give the educational presentation on something that would be beneficial to them.
Excellent reminders. Thank you, Brenda. Anyone else? All right. With that, I have come to the end of my presentation, and we can move our time forward a little bit and take a quick break, maybe 5 minutes, 6 minutes, come back at the top of the hour, and we will move on to our next presentation on dashboards. So we'll be back shortly.
Hey,
Thank
Karen,
you. Yes, ma'am.
Sean and I will have to leave by noon because we'll be giving the
All right, to start us off is our wonderful region advisor, Beth Ramsey, who is going to share with us about the dashboards, where to find them, how to use them. Help me welcome our Zoom maven, Beth Ramsey.
Hello, everybody. Yes, dashboards, how to use them, how to love them, how to just, you gotta like go to bed with them, baby, because they will tell the tale on everything. So these are one of the things. First thing I want to do, though, is just congratulate all of you, because leadership is a special thing. And I want you to please make sure that you tell everybody in your district how stretch goals and how stepping out into the unknown is really important for personal growth and development, because you need to get more leaders, right? So what you say, everybody's listening to you, especially now as a leader in this district. So everything you say, it drives me crazy when I hear people go, well, nobody else could do it. Well, you know, nobody would step forward, so I had to. Be careful of that, because people will hear that and go, well, why doesn't anybody want to do that? Wouldn't you? You know, so it's like, what's wrong with it? What happens to you? But it is wonderful. So I want to congratulate you all. It's leadership at every single level is a learning journey all the way through. And I think Ed was correct when he said about asking your members, or the club officers asking members what their goals are. I encourage you to do the same for yourself. What goal do you want to accomplish in your personal journey this year as area, as a member of the district leadership team, as a division director, what have you? Because it's all very important. And we are a learning lab, as Jackie said, that we're all learning things all the time, and we are a learning lab. There is no such thing as perfect. Just start it now, understand that now. Just because I don't do it the way that you would have done it does not mean it's wrong. Yes or yes? Hallelujah in the chamber. Yes. Okay, there you go. Hallelujah. I want to see some like emoticons or something. There you go. Thank you, Jacob. All right. So we are all students in this learning lab, and we all have mentors, as Vicki has said several times about mentors, and Karen mentioned mentors. You are not in this by yourself. If you think you're in this by yourself, it's your own damn fault. Yes, I said it. Yes, I said it. Y'all meet me, because this is how I work. Okay. if it is your own fault, if you feel that you're in this by yourself, that means that you have not reached out to somebody else. Even I, as region advisor, have a mentor on the international level. So I'm telling you, all the way, I was surprised. I got to tell you, I was surprised when they assigned me a mentor. I said, oh, yay. And I have learned so much from this person, and I've only met with her twice. Anyway, I'm just so excited. I think leadership is exciting. If it were easy, everybody would be doing it. Quote me, spell my name right when you tweet that out. Okay, that's important. If it were easy, everybody would be doing it. Okay, let's see. Oh, the other thing too is Deanne had said something about a chain of command. I think that's very, very smart thing to do, because I like to see the big picture and how things fit. How do I fit into this? And the area directors report to the division directors. However, we need to know that the area directors actually work for the district director. That's your ultimate boss. So make Karen happy. Find out if she likes chocolate. So to do whatever it is, make Karen happy. All right. And the other thing I want to share with you, and then I'm going to move on to District Central and the dashboard, is each of you have a piece of the pie. So if you look at District 9 as a pie, the area directors, your piece is what? What's your piece? You can either talk or chat. I don't care which.
My piece is an area.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Your clubs in your area, right? You don't really have to worry about what the other division's doing. You don't have to worry about what your finance manager's doing. You don't have to worry about what Karen's doing. None of that. Your job is to look at your piece of the pie. And then same thing with our division directors. Divisions, what is your piece of the pie? I know
Our
y'all are like,
division.
yeah, all the areas, right? So the division director's job is to manage the people who manage the clubs. Okay, so that's their piece of the pie. And then the trio, you've got your club growth director who's in charge of what? And y'all need to know this. You need to know the hierarchy. And I think that when Deanne said that, she's absolutely spot on. What does the club growth director do?
Build new clubs.
Build new clubs, marketing, membership
retention.
drives. I'm sorry?
Club retention.
Oh, that's a biggie. Karen hit on that. That's a goal apparently that your district has this year, retention. Write that down somewhere. That's what everybody's working on, is retention and building. Retention first. It's harder to get a new customer than to keep a customer, right? Anybody in sales? You know this, right? Okay, so that's excellent. I will share with you. Oh, what does program quality do? What's Vicki doing this year besides looking good?
Training,
Training, what else?
conferences.
Conferences, what else?
Contest or speech contests.
Speech contest, what else?
You guys better tell me.
Pathways, people, pathways. And I know that's part of the education, but pathways. Who's not working the program? That is your PQD and her team, right? And then that trickles down to you guys. Areas you have got to tell your district leaders, and that's Chuck. Let me look. Chuck and Vicki and Karen, what's going on at the club level? Because I will share with you from personal experience. You have no idea. When you're Karen and Vicki and Chuck, you have no idea what's happening because you're at the big pie level. Okay, so you guys have got to make sure that you are telling them through your division directors what's happening. Okay, and who is the one person out of the entire district who sees the entire pie? Who is that?
Karen.
Karen. That's right. So if Karen comes, now she didn't put me up to this, and I'm saying this on her behalf because I've been there. If Karen comes along and says something to you to change something that you're doing or what have you, there's a reason. She sees the big pie, you see your slice. So can we all take a pledge? Everybody raise your right hand right now. The pledge is, I promise I will not get in a snit if Karen comes and tells me I have to change something. Is that a yes? Okay. Don't make Karen call me. No, I'm kidding. Okay. All right, really quick. I'm going to share with you a couple things here. Let me share screen. And don't do what Karen did and make a comment on how many tabs I have open, because actually this is my second screen. There's not very many tabs. Oh, goodness. All right, hopefully. Do y'all see my Toastmaster website?
Yep.
You do? Okay, good, great. All right. Now, I'm going to need you. I'm going to actually, let me talk to the area directors. Can y'all use the chat real quick? Have you done this before, or is this your first time at a district leadership position? I need to know who I'm talking to really quick. Are you new, or have you done this before? First time, first time. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Jacob. You've done it. Pam's done it before. Thank you, Pam. Anybody else? I know you have more than just 3. Are those my 3?
No, there's more.
Okay, all right. Well, that helps me because that gives me an idea on what's going on. If I say something that you don't know what I'm talking about, interrupt me, okay? Because my task here is to just share some information with you that will make your life easier. And when I say you need to know and love and live the dashboard tells the tale. And you will get so good at it if you use it that you will be able to look at any club around the world, never talk to them, and get a good idea on what's happening on the ground. Okay, that's how valuable this tool is. This is the golden arrow in your quiver. Yeah, okay. So the first thing you want to do is go into your Toastmaster website, and hopefully you all know how to log in at this point. If you're working Pathways, then the only way to get there is to log in. You will, first of all, our new area directors, congratulations. You have just been elevated to Leadership Central. Yay. This is where everybody needs to go. But you see right here, that's grayed out because I can't get in it. But right there is District Central. That is a key to the kingdom. So when you go in there, there will be all sorts of information for you on all of your divisions, your areas, things of that nature. Right below that are the district leader tools. I had put that link in the chat earlier, but here's where I want you to look. Right here, distinguished performance reports. That's otherwise lovingly referred to as the dashboard. This is the report card of everything that happens in your district. Okay, this is the opening slide, and you will see that you'll see 14 regions around the world, and every district is listed. So all I want you to do is just go to the one that's yours, which is, I believe you are right there. But I want to share mine first as a couple tools I want you to look at, because I know these clubs, so I want to just get to mine real quick. When you first go onto your district dashboard, you will see these big 3 dials. Big 3 dials. Now your trio, really, they live on this page. This is their page. And this is on a district level on that big pie. These are the numbers that they need to look at and pay attention to. As divisions and areas, what you do feeds into this. Can I also see in the chat all of you who has been a club officer before? Moi? Yep. Is there anybody who has not been a club officer before? Okay. All right. Has everybody heard of the distinguished club program, DCP, yes or no? Excellent. All right, so the Distinguished Club Program is found right here when you go into the club performance. Now, as division and areas, you can go over here, and this gives a lot of information. Can y'all see this okay? Are you seeing the whole screen? Okay. However, as area and division, I actually prefer the club performance because that gives me more information on what is happening on the ground. So one of the things that I want to share with you is there is a fine line between we have to do the DCP. We have to do that. And that's so we have to accomplish that at all costs at the expense of our club members achieving their personal goals. Okay, so it's not a we have to do DCP at all costs, at least this is my opinion. It is more if the members are feeling value in exchange for their time and that they are achieving and growing what it is that they're there for. And it could be friendship, it could be leadership skills, it could be being able to get past saying their name in front of people. It could be all sorts of different reasons. And we need to know what those reasons are at the club level. But when everybody is working this program, that means that the members are getting satisfied and feeling fulfilled. And that in turn feeds the dashboard. Okay, so this is where you need to be. And let me do this. I want to go to area 11 as an example. Okay, does everybody know what these labels are across the top? Let me go through that really quick. Obviously, membership is membership numbers. Goals are how many goals have you achieved in that success plan to date? Education are the education goals. Membership, how many members? Because if you've worked this plan before, then you know what is it? 4 new members, right? 4 or more, because 4 is not enough, and you want to keep growing. And then sometimes people don't know what this is, but this is the training. This is the officer training that Karen was talking about coming up, that the first round right here, and then the second round right here. And then the RN stands for renewals. Do you have, did a club treasurer submit renewals on time? And these are things that you as areas can help your clubs remember, little reminders to your officers, you know, make sure you get your club dues, make sure you get the club officer list in, which is what the next one is right here. That's your officer list, who put it in and who did not. So that's what those mean. Now, I want to ask you a question. I want to look at this club in particular, this first one right here. Okay, now this, if somebody could tell me, if you look at this, what is going on with this club? What have they done well? Anybody can
Members,
talk?
members.
Members? Good grief. I don't know what the heck they did to get 15 all at once. Maybe they were paying people. I don't know. But whatever they did, that was excellent. What else are they doing well?
Submitting their reports on time.
Yeah. What else?
Attended training.
They've attended training. I hate it when I see 7 the first round and then only 5 the second round. That just breaks my heart. It's like, oh man. There you go. So then what have they not done well?
Education advancements.
Yeah, but they have 2. So if you had to guess what's going on with this club, what do you think?
I don't think they're focusing
They're
on
struggling.
pathways and encouraging each person to go through the steps on the pathways.
Perfect. So what's the first question as an area director you could be asking?
As everybody chose a pathway, first of all.
Yeah, are you working pathways? And we still have, you know, half members who are not doing it. Okay, then why are they not working it? It could be that they don't know how, they're intimidated. It could be a club that has older members that are not computer savvy. There's all sorts of reasons. So it's incumbent upon you to drill down on what those are, but these will absolutely tell the story. I want to share another club with you really quick. Area 23. Area 23, there you are. This one, right? Yeah.
I wouldn't
the
make an
one-
assumption though on that one, because you have those 19 new members. They may just have come in 2 weeks ago and they're just starting.
Absolutely. That's a good point. I wouldn't either, but I would ask. I mean, that would cause me to go, what's going on?
Another
So
possibility.
absolutely.
Another
sorry?
possibility is maybe they have completed it in base camp, but they have not submitted it through Club Central.
Boom, there you go. Sean gets a cookie. Somebody give Sean a cookie, because so many times they don't know, or the VPE is new, or the president didn't know, whoever's submitting, that it's a two-step process. Thank you, Jacob gave a cookie. So they don't know it's a two-step process. So that's an excellent point. We found that a lot, that they were working the program. Now, if it was, say, this time of year, and it looks like that, yet they were working the program, what's missing? The submission on the, in the pathways part, right? Or the education part, correct? So there was something missing, and your job is to play detective sleuth and find out, what's going on. And that helps them more than you think. Now, here's a club that's got hustle. They're 10 out of 10. And that's not necessarily what we're looking for. That would be great. That would be a great target. That's a stretch target. But they're obviously working the program. Their members are engaged. Their officers, look at that, 7 out of 7 both times. Their officers are engaged. So it starts with the leadership, and that's you. All right, let's pop over to what time, how much time do I have? Am I almost done? I wanted to pop to yours just really quick.
You have 10 more minutes available, Beth.
Oh, yay. Okay. I want to come to yours. Now, let me preface this by saying, if this is your club, I'm not picking on you. If this is this is a club you start, I am not picking on you. This is a learning opportunity here. So my intention is not to offend anybody. Deal? Okay, that's why I started with my own district, because I can, I can do that one. I want to go to B1. This one. Check this one out. Go, ladies. Women of influence. Very good. They are select distinguishments, which means that they have 7 or 8 goals. Now, does everybody know about that they've met 7, but they have 5 and 6 is distinguished, 7 and 8 is select. So they've done a great job. Now, what I happen to love at the club level and with the dashboard, I like strategy. And the first half of the year, I kind of look at it as, okay, we're all getting in there, we're chugging along, we're going, we're getting started, everybody's getting involved, they're doing their thing. Then, long about January, it is time for you to encourage the club officers, especially the president and the VPE, to go into strategic mode. Where are the members in their education level? Where can we encourage somebody to step it up? So tell me, if you see this, what can you encourage them to do? I mean, if this is strategy now we're in strategy.
Add one more new member will get them one more DCP point.
Mm-hmm.
Identify those that are in level 3 and just see how many more speeches they need and get them scheduled.
Bingo, absolutely. Absolutely. So those are 2 things that you can encourage them. I mean, it could be officers, I've seen this, and I'm sure some of you have, that officers don't go to the dashboard and they don't look. Or two, they're not sure of where their members are, which is something that you can share as an important role as club officers. But that is something that is, I mean, they're like right there. They could be, you know, they could be president's distinguished with some focus. And they've got how long? They've got what, 26 days? So 26 days, they should be able to find a member, and that will at least put them one more close to presidents, but that's excellent. So they've done a good job this year. They've been very engaged, and at least the officers, they've had at least 5. They've been consistent there. So they've done a good job. They've done a good job. All right, let's see. B2. Oh, does everybody understand, especially our new area directors? If you don't, let me know, or if you, because if you do, then I don't need to worry about it. Do you understand what base is? Because it took me a long time to understand what the heck is this base that y'all keep talking about? And how do I know if it's plus 5 people or, you know, does everybody know what base is? Ah, thank you. All right, I will chat. I'll pop on this. All right, so a base, let's take this one. All right. There's a base for everything, and base membership here, here's our cheat sheet actually, but when it says a base of 8, that means they started this district year with 8 members. When is the start of the district year?
On July.
July 1.
July 1, absolutely. So officially, you all should jolt awake at, let's see, you're what, an hour? No, see, this is higher math. You're an hour behind Mountain Time, right? So you should jolt awake at about 11:01, because it's at 12:01, July 1. Everybody changes jobs, and so I tease and say, oh, I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning. All right, so that means that they started with 8. So as of right now, how many above base do they have?
3.
3. And what is required for them to get to a distinguished level, possible distinguished?
13.
Net growth of 5.
13. Yep. So this was, I'm telling y'all, it probably took me 2 years to understand what they meant. So it's a base of 8, and they need to either grow to 20 members, which is charter strength, or a net of at least 5. Okay, so that's something that the officers in your clubs might not understand, or what their targets are. So obviously, I would think that we need more than 5 because we do have attrition, right? And we don't want paper members. And a paper member is somebody who is just on paper and doesn't contribute anything. So,
Beth,
all right.
if I may.
Yeah, I was just going to say, are there any questions? Go ahead.
This is Ed. For the new
Hi, Ed.
area directors, just to make sure that they really understand this, a lot of times it says, well, you have to have 20 members to be an active club or to be a recognized club. This is very important to have that base number and to understand.
Mhm.
If you're under 20, you have a net growth of 5, or this "or" is the word that you need to make sure people understand.
Right. Here, let's look at, okay.
Go
let's
down to
look at
go down to D4.
D4. Okay. Uh-oh. Why are you laughing? Oh, you did say something about area, D4?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's for the new alignment, Ed.
Oh, never mind.
Oh, I was gonna say, I see, you're punking me, Ed. I see how it is. Okay. Let's see if she really knows anything. All right. Here you go. If you had a base of 10, they're at 13. How many they need?
2.
Oh, stay in area B. Jacob wants to, okay, let's go back to area B. All right, let's look at let's look at the women again. So you see that they started out the year at what?
27.
So here's the
27.
trick. 27. So even though they are a distinguished club now, they dropped in membership. So that's something to understand, that it's not just the end result, but it's also where are they with this. But I hope that I've helped a little bit, because the dashboard absolutely is critical. And I would encourage, especially area directors, that you are on this on a constant basis, and especially about January, February, if you're working with your officers and encouraging them and showing them that their way to fulfilling their members' goals might not be that hard. It might be, as was mentioned, you know, somebody is in level 2 and they might only have 2 more speeches for level 3. You know, so all of this fits in to your slice of the pie, which then fits in to the big pie for the whole district. And
Can you show the daily reports? Because there's some things like looking at
Oh,
who's
sure.
turned in their club officer.
Oh, absolutely. Daily reports. Yeah, I would go there a lot too. Daily reports are over in this little galley on the left, and you see where daily reports is. And actually, this is kind of nice to see who in your clubs have achieved education levels, and you can shoot them a congratulations. So right here, what do you want me to look at? Anything in particular? Okay, here's like renewals. Oh, this is important. If you want a renewal, there's District 9. Now you can sort these by division, by area. So let's just, you know, let's look at area 1. There are your clubs. Here who has turned in their dues on time. So that's 1. Go out. Oh, you're going to be like that. Okay. Same thing with education achievements. You know, we need to rah-rah our members. You know, here you go. So you can either sort by name, by division, by club. You can do it by club. Oh, electric. Oh my gosh, we had an electric toasters. That was a corporate club, right? Anyway, so that's a really good one. Officer status. Now you're going to be wanting to look at this now. Who has, let's do this by division. Okay, see all these lists not here? This is going to impact the incoming officer teams. How?
They can't do anything.
If they don't get in by June 30th, then they can't have access to.
They don't have access, and what else on the dashboard? They don't get that point for officer list in on time. So it's incumbent upon the current area directors to be checking this. They need to be looking at every single one of their clubs here and giving them a jingle saying, hey, you need to turn these in. And it only takes 2 seconds. Sometimes people don't know how to do it, but it's only 2 seconds. It's really quick. All right, does anybody have a question about anything?
Beth, would you go back one screen, please?
Right here?
On the left-hand side, go down to
Yes, sir.
additional reports under the daily report.
Okay, this is interesting too. I encourage people to play around in this. I see where it's going. Okay, right here, what you're looking for is this.
There you go.
Yep, he knows. Okay, this is so simple. It tells you exactly who needs what. So you don't even have to figure it out if you don't want to. But these are the clubs who are almost distinguished in exactly what they need. That's a tough row with that, the members needed. That's a tough one. But you know what? It starts with a foundation, and everybody's going to build on that. And then, like Karen said, you're rising from the ashes, and this will be the greatest district in the world. I can feel it. I feel it right here. I feel it. All right. What else? Anything else? My time is up. Madam District Director-elect, I turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you, Beth. Next up is our session on club visits, and that will be presented by Vicki Chatterton. Vicki, I turn it over to you to share with us about the club visits.
All right. Thank you so much, Karen. On my journey in district leadership, one of my first district roles was area director. And I didn't realize when I took the role how much I was going to enjoy it. And that has been my favorite position of all. And I think it's because you get to go and visit the clubs. And one thing that I like about Toastmasters is they have a blueprint, but you don't have to follow it to a T. And so therefore, when you do your club visits, you get to see each club's what I call secret sauce. Each club is very unique and different. And I was surprised when I did my role and went to my very first area visit. And I saw how different clubs were run, but everybody was still engaged. They were getting their educational awards. They had club officers that were doing their roles. And it just amazed me how Toastmasters have come up with this formula and have come to make it work. And it's worked for over 100 years, this Toastmaster formula. But your role as area director and club visits are crucial because you are kind of the communication gateway between the clubs and the members and the district and what's going on. It was brought up earlier about how are we going to communicate with our club officers as to a training that's coming up. Well, hopefully the area directors will let the club officers know. If that doesn't happen, though, we have to have something else in place. And I'm sure that the communication will get out there to all of our clubs that we will be having that club officer training. Jacob mentioned that it's important to have goals. And I, as an area director, I'm hoping that your goal as area director is to become a select distinguished or president distinguished area. Because that is, yeah, you thought it was just on the club level? No, no, my friend. It is also at the area director level. It is at the division level that you can get it. And then it's also at the district level. When Beth was showing the dashboard and you saw those 3 components, that was what the trio was looking at for the district. But when you dig down deeper, you will see that as area directors, you can become distinguished, select distinguished, or president distinguished area director. And that's another portion that intrigued me when I took on the role as well, because I am not like Nancy and I'm not competitive. I'm not one who wants to stand up and be on a platform where I'm competing in a speech contest. That's just not me, but I'm competitive with myself. And I was like, okay, this is on me in a way in order to get my goal of becoming a distinguished area director or select or president. And so that's what I looked at. And in the guide that you were given earlier through Beth, the leadership handbook, it'll break down how you can reach that goal. And when you look at it, be sure and if you have any questions, reach out to myself or your trio or your division director, and they will be more than happy to tell you how you can accomplish that goal. Because not only by accomplishing that goal, you're also helping members of your clubs, because the only way to get that goal is to help your clubs, because it's all based on clubs. So it's just a wonderful program. And I really encourage you to look at it. So let's talk club visits. That is something that you're required to do at least a minimum of twice during your Toastmaster year as area director, because you will fill out the report and you will turn that report in to Toastmasters International through the portal that you'll have access to on your dashboard. So you will get familiar with this dashboard. If you can't find it, just let us know. But I encourage you to also print it out and write notes on it. Now, the first thing you're going to do for your area visit starts way before your actual visit. Is first of all, you can go on to the website and look at your clubs that you are representing, that you'll be visiting. And look, do they have an online presence such as a website? Do they have information of how to visit the club? Because that's a key component for people that are looking into membership of how to find a club. So if you're having a difficult time as an area director finding your club, that means that potential members are also having a difficult time finding this club. And that will be a component on your report of, you know, when you were looking at the club to find it, you know, was it accessible? Were you able to find this club easily? And so after you do that, take note, because now not only are we meeting in person, but we're meeting online. So is your visit going to be an in-person visit, or is it going to be online, or is it hybrid? How is that club meeting? That's a challenge. One challenge we used to have was the information up to date as to where they were meeting. We've had area directors go to do a visit and they didn't initially make contact with any officers. And then they found out that the club was no longer meeting at that location. So it's just one of those things to make sure that it's up to date. Contact the president or the vice president of education and let them know that you will be coming. And I just love how the discussion has started of making an initial visit that's not official. Just get to know your club and become friends with them. See how it's run. Because if you're like me, you might be surprised that it's run a little bit differently than what you're used to. I came from a club that's been president distinguished every year that I had started. And I thought every club in our district was president's distinguished because that's what I was used to. And I also thought for a long time that everybody in leadership had to be a distinguished Toastmaster, because that is what our culture has. Is we've got a lot of distinguished Toastmasters in this district. And I think that is one of the attributes to our district. So you're doing your pre-visit by collecting where they're meeting, whether it be in line or in person. You're making that initial contact. Hopefully you will have looked at the area report that you're going to be having to fill out. And if you've looked at it, and if you've ever done moments of truth with your club, you will see, oh, these kind of align. And one of the questions is that you'll ask your clubs, have you done moment of truth? And it was mentioned that maybe as an area director, you could run that through with them of moments of truth, because I found out that not every club does that. It was a shock to me. Then I also found out that they have something called a club success plan. How many of you have done a club success plan in your club? Okay, about half the hands. So encourage your officers of the clubs that you're representing to perhaps look at that document, because the more they know their members, then the better that they can serve their members. And one thing we're working at this upcoming year is building membership, but also building a pool of potential leaders, because we need more of you in the room here today. Because in order for our district to work and to grow, we need more volunteers. And I am ecstatic that all of our division directors are past district governors, because they are a wealth of information. But I don't want to see next year that these division directors are in the role again, you know? So as area directors, which one of you think that you might be ready to step up into that role? Think about it now. Is that something that you might potentially see yourself doing next year? Because you can be an area director 2 years in a row, but you can also do it 1 year and then move up to be a division director. And I'm hoping that at least one person in each division is like already thinking, oh, division? If that's something that just triggered your thoughts, I would suggest that you let your division director know that that's something that you would be interested, maybe not next year, but the following year, since you can do area director 2 years in a row. But then they can mentor you now and let you see what it is that they're doing on their level, so that when you step into that role as division director, it's not all new to you. And while you're doing that, I suggest you also talk to club members within your clubs and find out what their goals are. Find out if they want to be a distinguished Toastmaster. If they want to be a distinguished Toastmaster, they have to take leadership roles. And you let them know, hey, I can help you become that distinguished Toastmaster. The majority of us in the division roles or higher district roles have attained that. One of the person that you may want to talk to though is Ed, because he knows that program inside and out of how to become a distinguished Toastmaster. And I've heard stories through other members about how Ed's at a conference or district conference and he'll say, you know, what are your goals? Because it's their first conference, you know, they're new, and we used to have what we call first timers, and you can point them out because we had a ribbon. And Ed was zero in and say, what do you want to do? And he's actually I've known, given somebody one of his distinguished Toastmasters medals and said, I want this back when you get yours. And they do that. And then it's something that they can put up and focus on, you know? And so we're all about mentoring here, but find out what members might be interested in leadership roles. And then start talking about it now, because you want to fill your role. You want to be out of a job. You want somebody else saying, I want to be the area director next year. I want to go visit. So find those key members that might be interested in leadership when you go and visit. Find also those who are the helper bees. They're the ones who are kind of the ones in the background. They're kind of interested. They're asking questions, and invite them to help with an area contest. So they kind of see and they feel a part of what's going on, because they may not be ready to step into that leadership role. But if you ask them, hey, could you be our chief judge for our area contest? And what you need to do is contact people who are also judges. They're like, sure, I'll do that, because more than likely, they just need to be asked. They don't know that that you have a need for it. So when you have your back pocket speech that you may have to give, have those key elements of things that you're looking for, and then stick around after the meeting and talk to people, because the ones who are a little bit more on the shy side and don't want to raise their hand may come up and ask you a question. And you don't have to approach them right then, but keep their name in the back of your mind. So the next time you see them, you might ask them. Or when you go do your visits and you do your first visit, you get a feel as to who's doing pathways and who's struggling with it. And then throughout those reports that you're looking at, you can contact people when they make those advancements. You know, if you hear somebody that says, I want to be in speech contests, my goal is to be international speech contestant. Well, there's rules that all of you will know, because you're going to get the handbook of the rules, because as area directors, you will be running the area contests, and then you'll also be helping your division directors in the division. So you have to know what the rules are for those.
Hey,
But
Karen,
yes.
excuse me, Zed, for the new area directors, make sure that you get the current rule book. Sometimes you'll call and you'll ask people, do you have a rule book? Yes, I do. And then you get there and look at it, it's 2 years old. They're only good for 1 year.
Yeah. Yeah,
Thank you.
so make sure that you have the most current rule book.
And by the
Uh,
way, every DTM medal I've given out for that purpose you discussed earlier, I've gotten them back
Yep,
with that caveat. I'll shut
Yeah.
up now. DTMs don't talk much.
so yeah, I'm hoping that all of you who do not have a DTM medal yet, at least print one out and put them up so that you have that. And you know, it's one of those great moments when you do get your distinguished Toastmaster. So I hope you have that. Okay, so when you're in your club visit, you'll be going through your paperwork that has, you know, your first impressions. So when you go into the meeting, are you greeted by the officers? Are you, do you feel welcome? So there's all these questions that you kind of go through. And you'll talk to the Vice President of Education to see where their members are as far as awards. But you can also go on the dashboard, and I would encourage you to just click on everything on that dashboard and see what kind of reports you get, because you will be able to see which members of your clubs are obtaining awards. You will be able to see which ones have turned in membership dues when it comes to that time, because you'll be reminding your clubs this, because by reminding your clubs, that gets you that little check mark to get to your President's Distinguished Award as your area director. So the more check marks they have, the closer you are to your goal. So you'll want to look at those reports to see where they're at. The most current one, of course, is our club officer report, because we want to make sure that we have incoming club officers who are going to get trained the last Saturday in June. And we want to encourage all of them to attend. And it's just one of those things where you will have clubs that will have repeat officers, because as you know, membership is at a low. And so a lot of our members are longtime members who find the benefit of Toastmasters and have already held a club officer role. And they think, I've already gone to training. So we're going to make it fun and exciting to where they want to come again, because it's one of those requirements. Even if they've come before, they have to come twice a year, and it's going to be great. So it's just one of those requirements as club officers. So you'll want to know the awards, because again, that's on your dashboard, as we saw. Who's doing what? Are they making their goals? So you'll turn in those reports. And with those reports, they not only go to Toastmasters International, but they go to your trio. So your trio will be able to see it. One of the spots on there is, are there any potential members that would make great leaders? Because then that gives the trio an idea of who we might be able to approach. Now, one of my roles that I take on as immediate past district director is leadership committee. So I'm going to be asking our area directors of like, who do you see that can fill your role? Are you interested in becoming a division director? Who do you see? So that we can start building up that leadership again. We really need to build our base of leaders again, and we will, because we're Toastmasters and it's a great program. How am I doing on time, Karen? Try to see.
Doing good. You've
Okay.
got 10 minutes.
Okay, excellent. So I've covered that. So you'll have your pre-visit where you'll get all of that information. Then you'll have your visit where you'll fill out that form. And then you submit it to TI, and TI, like I said, sends it to the trio, but it also sends it to the vice president or the president, and I believe also the vice president of education, so that they see your report as well. And I suggest either before you turn in the report or right after, you have a discussion then with the president and vice president of education of, here's what I saw. You know, you stated that your goals are these. how can we help your club and your members reach these goals? Because those are all outlined in your area visit. Who, what trio? The trio is your division director, Karen Mobley, your program quality director, Victoria Luba, and your club growth director, which is Chuck Richardson. Those are the trio. And so they will get the reports as well. And then after, meet with your club presidents and so forth, so that you can help them reach their goals. And, you know, get to know the members of those clubs, because you are going to need them when it comes time for contests or trainings. You may find that somebody is a great trainer. You want to let Victoria Luba know that, you know, we've got this person who really understands this component of leadership or this component of speeches. They would make a great presenter, because we are always looking for people to present at our trainings so that it's not the same people presenting every time. And you can also, another bonus thing is with Pathways, it is so flexible that if you do a training, you can get credit for it. So if you're going to do it, be sure and bring it. With our old legacy program, you would see, you know, regional advisors or international presidents that were making visits with their manual, and they would give it to somebody in their audience and said, you know, would you be able to evaluate me so that they can get credit for their next thing? So if you're giving a speech at a club, be sure and have it as a Pathways speech so that you get credit for it. It's just one of those, it's a win-win situation. So you'll get credit for that as well. I've done a lot of talking. I want to know if there's any questions right now about the club visits. Do you see any challenges, or, you know, what about club visits scare you the most? Yes, Nancy.
Vicki, I was just going to mention one thing that worked for me well this year in doing club visits was that I would fill out the visit form on the PDF form, and then I would send that to the club officers in advance of actually filling it out on the TI website, so that we could have a kind of a discussion beforehand, and I could include their comments at all when I was ready to submit to TI.
Perfect. Yes, it is in a PDF form that you can fill out. And I believe that's what Karen put in the chat as well. And you can find it on the website. If you can't find it, just let us know and we'll be able to get it to you. Then I have a resource copy that I'm putting in the chat now. And this resource is a manual that says serving your clubs through through visits guide. So that's something that you can use as a resource. Another one I have is a magazine article. And this is Shining as an Area Director. And this was in the TI magazine. So there is another resource. One thing about Toastmasters that I love is that they have a plethora of information. I remember when we were going to become into the Pathways, and there were a few of us that were Chief Ambassador and Pathways Ambassadors, and they gave us a whole bunch of information to share with clubs. Not that they really told us what we were doing or when it was rolling out, but they gave us a lot of information to go and tell our clubs to get excited about. But as it rolled out, they did have more and more information as far as that. So one thing is Toastmasters International website has great information. If you want to know it. Now I have to admit, since the changes and update, I haven't gone in to use the search engine. The search engine used to be a little bit clunky. And so my workaround is, if I wanted to find out something Toastmasters related, I would go to Google and I would type in Club Officer Report Toastmasters. and Google will bring it up for me. And it would, I would just click on that. But if I would go into the website and put club visit report, I couldn't find it but I'm hoping like I said, I haven't gone into the new updated website. So hopefully things have been a little bit better on the search engine. But anytime you want to search something, I found that Google, and if you put Toastmasters, either before or after that, it will bring up what I'm looking for. And either it's already on the Toastmasters website or another district has incorporated it on their website and you can get it through them. So much information is, and so you should be able to find it. But then again, if you're looking for something and you don't find it, just let the area director or their division directors know, and more than likely they know where to find that as well. I'm pretty sure that Ed has the rule book tagged on his computer to where he could get the newest one to you should you not be able to find it. But generally all you have to do for that one is put in the date. So those are those two resources. Sorry about the dog. And so you now have a bunch of reading and soaking in to do. You have your district leader handbook that was given out. You have your club visit report, which was put in the chat. Then you have those 2 articles that I gave you, and you have a dashboard to play with. Just check everything out. And I'm one of those types, I'm in that era that I was taught that you didn't push things on the keyboard or the computer because we were afraid that it wouldn't save or it would just explode or something would happen. But my kids and my grandkids are of the generation that you just peck and you just click on things and you eventually find it. So I am becoming better at just clicking on things. So just click all over that dashboard and see what you have. But I appreciate you all taking on the roles that you have. And if you have any questions, let me know. All right.
Vicki, that's
Yes.
called the Bible method. Seek and ye shall find.
Oh, okay. I like that. All right. Thank you so much. Back to you, Karen.
All right. Thank you, Vicki. Brenda and Sean have left. They are off to their Coyote Ridge sessions with their people up there to take care of those clubs. Next up, we have the opportunity for the divisions to break out and have conversations amongst themselves. So I will ask that everyone hang on for a minute and you will all be moved into a room together. So
actually, Karen, why don't we just stay here instead of going into a breakout room, since it looks like this is Division C, we can add in, everybody else that's.
yes,
I
absolutely.
don't want other people to have to just be in their own rooms. So.
Yep, that's all right. So please go ahead.
Yeah,
Floor's
so
yours.
I'm the one who had asked Karen to see if we could have a division breakout session, because I was thinking for my division, for Division C, I wanted to have an opportunity to talk to my area directors that I had in attendance here today, just to kind of get a feel from them as to what, did you get what you needed from today's training? Is there anything else that you need additional? I wanted to kind of have a conversation about how often do we want to meet as Division C? Maybe even, Karen, at the DEC meeting, when we have that on the 4th Saturday, we could have breakout sessions at that point so we could consolidate. I'm not a person who wants to have excess meetings for the sake of having meetings. So exactly. To me, I would prefer to consolidate wherever I can and just keep it as simple as we can. So I guess, Jackie, what do you look like you're ready to say something?
Yes, thank you so much, Nancy. I'm a little mixed up just because of not being an area director for a while. I did this a couple years ago. So the training on July 25th is for the new officers starting the calendar year, but is that training put on by people from the last year, So
It's us.
that's put on by us. So we as
Yeah.
area directors need to be
Yeah,
involved.
it's the new team is the one that's responsible for doing that training.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the new
I'm
team,
I'm really responsible for pulling, Karen and I are gonna pull that training together. Let me start there. And that means that when we get sorted out in the next week, we're gonna be calling on people to do specific parts of that training. And my notion is that this first training, this first round of officer training is basically to say, you're the club treasurer, these are your responsibilities. You're the club secretary, these are your responsibilities. So you go through each role individually. You go through a little bit of you're part of this larger organization. It's not just your club. There's an area, there's a division, there's a district, there's a region, and you just keep, you give them, you give the officers a sense of the fact that they are one piece of a much larger chain, and what their obligations are. So we'll be pulling that together in the next week, but at the moment we're still waiting to figure out who those officers are.
okay, thank you
And
for
then we're
that.
going to be looking for people to do those parts of the training, but it'll again be, I think it's a 9 to 12 training, and we will have some breakout rooms, and we will have, I wish we had some biscuits or, donuts or something, but that's not possible in this format. But yeah,
Right.
we'll be reaching out within the next week to let people know what our expectations are, and you are likely to be called upon to help out with this training.
Okay, thank you for that. And the reason I brought that up was because I know in our Talk at the Town Club and myself as well, several people have out of town other kinds of things. And so I'm a planner. One of my big deals is way advance notice. So I will try to see who can come to that meeting and encourage as many people as I can for that training. But then the second round of training usually is like maybe in January. Is that right? No.
No, we usually do like a makeup training as a
Okay.
division level. I don't know if the district is going to be involved in that at all or not. But to me, I would prefer to do it on an evening rather than using a weekend day. I think sometimes you get more attendance that way too. So, but I usually wouldn't publish what the round, what the backup training would be until after we've got really focused attendance on the first one to make sure that we get the best attendance there possible.
Okay, that's
And then, the next one is in January after, in the next 6-month period.
perfect. Perfect. Because it's nice to be able to encourage people to go, but if they can't go, encourage them to go to a makeup or another round. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
In order to be,
And then that would be something that we can obviously offer across the entire district too. If there's people from A, B, or D that didn't make the big one, then we could have them at a makeup training for some other time.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
And Jackie, this is Ed. One of the other things you need to remember too is that the training is in the latter part of July. They have assumed that position the 1st of July. So you may be prepared to have a whole lot of questions, or people are too embarrassed thinking, well, this is a dumb question, I'm not going to ask it. And no matter how much you tell people there are no dumb questions, there are no stupid questions, they still won't ask. So Victoria, I'm not sure what you're going to do. I'm sorry, Vicki, I'm not sure what you plan on doing. But personally, I don't like the breakout rooms for each individual position. And the reason being that you have some people that are holding 2 or 3 positions sometimes. So having the whole thing and maybe just a 10, 15 minute on each session, it also helps the newer members, the newer officers learn those other positions and the fact that they are interdependent.
Yeah, I like to encourage officers to look toward other officers as their backups as well. So like Vice President of Membership and Public Relations can back up each other or things like that we can make sure that we promote that. So I'm in favor of that too.
Thanks
Pam,
for
you've
that input.
unmuted yourself. Do you have anything to add? Oh,
Oops. Oh, I was going to say, but Ed beat me to the punch that I like it when everybody knows what everybody's role is. And it also, I think, enhances a little bit of accountability to know, okay, I'm the president of the club, but I know that as the VP of E, you need to be doing this or that. It kind of allows all of us to help each other to fulfill our roles.
Okay, I got it.
Well, don't keep it, share it.
we're all here to support you. You know that.
Yep.
Kelly, any comments from you? Oh, it looks like he's talking to somebody else maybe. Okay. Well, what I was thinking of doing is sending out an email to the club officers in Division C, just as saying, here's an introduction as to what the new alignment looks like. It hasn't changed very much. And here are the names of my new incoming area directors that will be in touch with you. And also mark your calendars for the club officer training. Make sure you get in your officer list before the end of June. And you can find the registration link for it on the TMD9 website. Look at the calendar. That's going to be a common place of finding things. So I was thinking of just kind of doing one general email to that group. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't overstepping my bounds. So since I officially don't start until the 1st of July. So Vicki, since you're the outgoing Division C director, did you want to send that? Do you want it to come from you or from me? It doesn't matter.
I think it should come from you. I think
Okay.
My plate's kind of full trying to, yeah. It should
All
come
right.
from
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. That's perfectly fine. I'll be happy to do that. So I'll copy
Nancy.
you on it as well, just so you see. Yep, Ed.
Yeah, copy me on it too. I don't mind plagiarizing.
Okay. Okay. All right. Maybe I'll just, yeah, I'll copy I'll copy you, Karen, and the other division directors, just so that you guys can see what I'm doing and see. Just so
Start
we're
out
not-
with uniformity. What a challenge.
Yeah, exactly. Kelly, I wanted to, since this is your first time of being an area director, has everything that you've heard today made sense? And is there any questions or
Nope,
what do you
I
think?
took a page and a half of good notes and I'll read the manuals. I'm a reader, so I'll pull them up when I get to the office next week and I'll read through them, print what I think is something I want to have in my hand and get prepared. And as soon as we get the switch over, I'll do the research on my clubs to get to know who they are and where they're at. And then I'll start planning my visits right away. So that works great for me.
So yeah, so I think with me getting out an email to them as an introductory, then that's a good segue for you guys making your point of contacts then with them. Did for my area directors too, Vicki had offered that if you wanted to have an introduction from the outgoing area director to your club, do you want to have that kind of a transition or not? It's up to you. Jackie?
Thank you, Nancy. It's always a difficult position because some of us have area directors maybe that weren't outstanding or maybe didn't fulfill every part of their job. It puts them in a bad position. It also puts some of us that are trying to do our best or wanting to be different, it puts us in a bad position. So my personal thought is maybe like an area director chat or something where it's not so much of a focus on you're out, I'm in, but just all of us visiting. Just my thoughts.
Okay, good.
I offer one
Pam,
other
did you-
comment.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Ed.
Sorry. To the new area directors, you need to make sure that you separate your job when if you are in a club that's in your area. Don't go in there as a club member and then somebody segues you into the area director. That's not it. Now, you can do area director work, but make sure that you separate that from the meeting. If somebody asks you a question about an area director position or function, say, okay, let's discuss this after the meeting. Unless you feel it pertains, and you've already talked to the VPE or the president and they don't mind. But don't take away the meeting time and the speech times to do that.
Thanks, Ed. Karen, I did have one other question. Were the sessions from the spring conference posted on the tmd9.org website, or, because I was going to include that in the email too?
Not yet. That's in process. That's still on my to-do list. So far, I have gotten the district council meeting and the evaluation contest over to Darlene for posting. I don't know if that's made it up yet, but I know that's on her plate. And then,
So I won't mention it, but at least I could.
well, maybe tell them to, watch the district website.
That's
for
another
when
thing
those
that will be
post.
coming on the website and be coming in the next, can I say within the next month? I don't want to.
Yeah, I think that's, I would think that's reasonable.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to mention, oh yeah, Deanne, go ahead. Oh, can't hear you.
Sorry, I was asking a question. I just logged into TI, but I don't have access to District Central yet. So if I want to encourage my other clubs to submit their leadership list on time, I'm unable to do that. So when would I be able to have access to district leadership icon?
I think Karen can provide that
Okay.
to you in the meantime, but officially on TI's website, you don't have access till July 1st. But she can provide us a listing of who the club officers are right now, and then that way we could reach out to those in the interim time.
You can actually look to see who has completed that task and who has not. If you remember through the dashboards that Beth was sharing, if you go to the daily reports, there is a report that's titled July Officer Lists. And that will give you a searchable list where you just can choose, from the headers, organized by ascending or descending order of your choice, or copy and paste it into an Excel worksheet. You do you, and it will help you to know who has and who has not submitted their district or club officer lists. If there's any issues, I am more than happy to help with that. It's one
So
of the things I track.
So am I able to access it through my Club Central?
You don't even have to do that.
Oh.
If you go to Leadership Central and Distinguished Performance Reports,
Okay.
in the left menu bar is the daily reports.
Yep, I see it.
You can access, and you don't even have to be logged into TI to access the distinguished reports or anything on the dashboard.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome.
The only other question I wanted to bring up was there was conversation today about the area council meetings, and I kind of wanted to kind of provide a little bit more information about that. The DECM, the fourth Saturday of the month, is the District Executive Council meeting, and that includes all of the trio. It includes the division directors. It includes the area directors. And that's, I think, as far as that one goes. We can have division council meetings as well, which would just be division, like for us, Division C and the area directors. To me, that's overkill to do both. And so that's where it's like, if I can consolidate things, I will. An area council meeting is between the area director and all of the club presidents, VPEs, if you want to try to pull all of them together in a meeting. I never had success personally in trying to get that kind of a meeting going, but it's something, to me, I know one thing that we did this last year. Vicky was great in saying that let's try a big open house and try to do membership building in the fall and try to have that. So we attempted some of that in the Spokane, North Idaho area. A couple of the clubs participated, and we had fun doing it, but I don't know that it gained that much membership at all. So I don't know if we want to try something like that again. If so, we probably do need some meetings in order to kind of pre-plan that and figure out a strategy for putting that into place. And so maybe that would be where you'd have an area council meeting. The only other time I've ever seen them work was when they were almost at the club officer training, when we were doing those in person. Is it gave opportunities for club officers to interact with other people with the same roles in other clubs. And that it was a good exchange of information and fellowship, but I haven't really seen anything successfully done with the Zoom side yet. Ed, Karen, Vicki, any other things to add to, I guess, that as far as for extra meetings?
I think the extra meetings, I agree with you. There's no real, unless you have a project that you're working, a membership building project or a speech contest project that you're working, I don't see a lot of reason for divisions to gather. But I do want to encourage area directors to touch base often with their club leaderships. And I don't know if that's, a leadership, an area council, or if that's, I'll check in with you once a month or something to just keep that contact going so that they know that there's someone who cares about them outside the club environment, who someone cares about how they're doing and what they need outside the club environment. And 2 visits a year just doesn't accomplish that goal. And if they're worried about membership, I'm going to spend some time again this year trying to figure out where we can go to get the Toastmasters program elevated into the public purview of public eye. It's just, there's so much value in this program and it's just not publicized. Don't know how to do that yet, but I'm working at it.
Yeah, but honestly, if we want to have something kick off in the fall, in September, it needs to start planning over the summer, because it takes lead time to be able to get something like that done.
Yep.
So as you start looking at your clubs and the membership, you can see that our clubs are at the minimum levels. And so to me, we need to not only retain the members we have by having good quality meetings, but we need to be doing some kind of outreach in order to be bringing new people into our existing clubs and maybe even building new clubs. But I think, to me, I want to do what we can to bolster our existing clubs and then see what's available. I do have the list from, just one second, and I do have a list from Debbie Ford of the Rotary contacts in our area. And so I've been reaching out to those and been talking about Toastmasters with some of those. So at this point, it hasn't turned into anything beneficial yet, but it could be. So that's one outlet we're trying. Ed, you were going to mention something else there?
This is a good opportunity also for area directors to get your clubs integrated and get them ready for speech contests. It's so disappointing to the district leadership as this last contest, excuse me, cat here, this last contest proved, you didn't have representation hardly from at least 2 divisions. Yeah. And it's a shame. You should have a representative from every single club, even if it's only one that's nominated. And there's a way that you do that. And I've been a chief judge for a number of years, district and other places. And if you want some information on that, give me a holler. I'll talk to you about it. But having clubs hold a contest and having club members from other clubs come in as judges, you say, well, I can't get a judge. They don't have to be even in the district. The district contest we had 2 people, Karen, I think, that were outside the district. So it doesn't really matter where. As a side comment, Vicki, put your mouthpiece down, please. I can hardly hear you.
I forgot it was up there, Ed, sorry.
That's okay. I'll remind you on certain things at certain times.
I'm sure of it.
That's all I've got. Thank you.
All right, very good. Jacob, you haven't said anything. I know you're not in Division C, but was there anything else you wanted to add too?
Don
Putting
Parks
you on the
is
spot,
always
no.
telling me when I say I'd like to do something, he'd say, well, if you like to do it, just do it. Now I know where he got that from. So the person's laughing now. The only question I have, this has been a great meeting, very informative. I have 2 full pages of notes, so a half page more than Kelly. I'm just curious, when I do visit these clubs, as a matter of protocol, am I Mr. Director or Director Liston? How does that work?
You're Jacob.
I just,
You're announced by your
Yeah.
name and your position.
Do I get a
Help-
fancy title?
Help me welcome our area director, Jacob Liston.
Yes.
That's the way to do it.
Or the high executioner, whatever, Jacob. You get to pick.
Right, let me tell you, when Don Parks corrects me on that like thing, I want to be the high executioner. But this has been a fantastic meeting. I've learned a lot. Very well put together.
You don't want to associate every director meeting with the word executioner.
I've been down that road.
That's the 2 biggest lies
All right.
that they used to have in the military.
Deanne
I
has
see a
another-
hand in
you
the
have
air.
something else to add?
Sorry. Go ahead.
So, sorry, I was able to also look at my area, and all I can say, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clubs, but I think 1 was suspended as of March. And I think there is 1 that has 0 members. Go ahead, Vicky.
You are looking at the alignment from last year. You are not looking at this year's alignment. And I have just gone through and modified the spreadsheet that we're working on. I'm going to send it to Karen. Karen's going to say, yes, this is what I think the alignment is. I'm also going to send it to Nancy because she was on that committee. But I think I have an updated alignment in an Excel spreadsheet. And when we've all agreed that that's what it looks like, this was one of the places last year that I lost some more hair because the alignment does modify. And then you'll find, and Nancy did this to me last year. She was one of my area directors when I was the division director, and she and somebody traded, and I never did get that straight in my head. So it's really nice to have a copy that is up to date. And we'll do our best to get that to you before the 25th of June, but I can't guarantee it any sooner than that.
Yeah, just.
The other thing I'll mention too about trading. I had to trade one of my clubs with one of the other area directors because I could never make their meeting because it conflicted with my home club meeting. And the problem was that on TI's website, I could not enter my area visit for that other club and he couldn't enter his. So we had to try and cross-reference our visits to each other. So you only have access for area visits within your own area, even if you're trying to trade with somebody else. So just wanted to point that out. Victoria, you said you had something to add?
Well, I just gotta let Deanne know that it's very frustrating that you won't have access until July 1st. So
Well,
we've
that's-
given you all of this information and said, go check it out. Unfortunately, you can't check out some of that until July 1st. But Vicky Luba or Karen can let you know right now what your clubs are so that you can kind of look at their dashboard now and see where they're at so that when you go, you'll kind of know. So yeah, it's very frustrating, I know, as an incoming officer to not have that access until that date because you're excited. You want to check everything out now. So yeah, just want to let you know.
So Deanne, just because you're here and I can do this orally, and if I'm wrong, it will get corrected after the 1st of July. But I believe the 3 clubs in area A2 are Chinook, Cascade, and Sun City. And I always find this interesting because there are 2 Tuesday meetings and 1 Thursday meeting. You have Chinook is Tuesday at noon. Cascade is Tuesday at 6 a.m. and Sun City is Thursday at 6:30. So you're going to have some 12-hour days. No, luckily
then-
those aren't on the same day.
Also, Beth brought a good point that I should also mention out, is that July 1st is when everything happens. So it may take a while for things to be updated. So you may also not have access right away because they have to first update all of their records, because what's going to happen is clubs are going to enter information June 30th to be able to become distinguished clubs. So they'll be entering in all those education awards and so forth. And so that takes a while for an update before the new alignment and everything is up to date. And I can't remember exactly when that posts. But yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
helpful
it
to
can be like
remember.
a week that,
Yeah.
that you can't see.
It's helpful to remember that this is a worldwide organization, and in Colorado, they are dealing with all of the clubs, not just District 9. So it does take some time for them to catch up with the fire hose that they see on the 1st of July or 30th of June.
All right, Karen, that was all that I had that I wanted to cover for my division breakout.
All right, great. That was excellent information. A couple of things that I would like to put out for consideration. Yeah, I know. I see you shaking your head. I'm putting it out there. We're going to have a discussion on it. Area visits. There's 2 deadlines from Toastmasters for getting those submitted. November 30th, and I believe it is May 31st. I want to move that internally within District 9 by 1 month each. So instead of waiting until November to do your visits and submit reports, I want to see them done by October 31st and April 30th. Here's my rationale. The rest of the world waits until the very last minute. And then TI struggles with keeping the website open and functional because over half of the districts have met their area, trying to get too much out at once. Their area directors are trying to all submit reports at the same time. So instead of contributing to the problem, let's alleviate that and give ourselves a 1 month grace period in case there's any situation that occurs where computer goes down, clubs are not meeting for whatever. You've got that extra 4 weeks available to get help, for us to put together a workaround, whatever we need to do to make sure that you are able to get your visit reports turned in before Toastmasters locks it. And once they lock it, you can't go in after the fact later. You can't go on the next day and say, I'm going to go enter my report. It doesn't work that way. Once first round is done, it's locked. That's it. Then they are removed from the website in preparation for when you start your second round of visits. So I want to see us set up for success for ourselves and for our clubs and anyone who comes after us, to set some good practices in place and give us some breathing time if we need it, to make sure that everything is done and we aren't the tardy ones. We're not part of the problem of waiting until the very last second to do anything.
Karen, will those dates be posted on our district calendar so that our area directors can see that there too?
Yes.
Good, thank you.
Yes, that's part of the things that Vicki and I will be doing with leveraging the district calendar more often. One of the other things I intend to put on there is when the different contests are running. And by contests, I'm referring to the Toastmaster membership building ones. So Talk Up Toastmasters and all the rest of them. Here's when it starts, here's when it ends, and so forth. So anyone at any time is aware of when it starts, when it's done, because some clubs like to really work those programs and others are either uninterested or unaware that these are occurring. And that's something that as area directors, you can bring to your clubs. Hey, we've got the Smedley contest, or, beat the rush, whatever membership building contest is going on, because we all need members. Without exception, all of our clubs are qualified for club coaches. 43 clubs, and all of them need a coach. That's a heavy lift, and we don't have enough people to do that. So for them to say, oh, well, we don't need that, just by getting the 5 members gets them into that contest. And now they've got a ribbon for their banner, and they can say, hey, we can do this. We've shown success, and that feels good. Vicki.
I just wanted to comment that one of the things I learned many, many things over the years with Toastmasters, but the membership building piece, when I said to a club, what methods would you use? There's a local newsletter that goes out and sits on the cafe table. And it's like, okay, how do I get hold of those people? And you can, if you have just a blurb and Pam Beasley is the king of writing those little short blurbs, or queen, I guess. If you have a little blurb, it's easy to just email it to somebody with our club meets at 4:15. If you want to be a better communicator, come visit us, and the address. And those cafe newsletters, those church newsletters, those real estate newsletters are all places where you can put in an announcement that there's a meeting that's going to help people become a better communicator. And I found that to be more effective than advertising that you have to pay for. So ask the clubs what works for you. And is there, a local news outlet? Is there a local communication device? Is there a bulletin board where people check? That kind of thing will really help.
Go for it, Ed.
3 things. Number 1, to follow up with Vicki, Toastmaster also has a template for business cards.
Yep.
Use those. And I found after years and years of using one that there was actually a blank backside. So instead of putting 0.3 font in the front, trying to get everything on there, you just put the main information, your position, what you are, your club. Then on the back, put all the other stuff, your contact numbers, your club meeting times and dates. You may want to put on there free meal, something for the first timers. I know the club over here in Pasco used to do that. I don't know if they still do or not. But if you were a first timer, or just a visitor rather, the first time visitor, you got a free McDonald's. That's where they met. And you got a free McDonald's breakfast. So it's something nice to have. The other 2 points with Karen. Shoot. Old age kicked in. Karen, what were you talking about?
Yes.
What were you talking about, please? The last couple of minutes. I'm sorry.
Area director visits, getting them in early.
Yes. Thank you. 2 things. Number 1, the area directors, make sure that you tell people that this is a district requested item, district director item, because you're going to get some smart aleck who's going to look in that district handbook and see the calendar, and it says that the area director reports are due not later than. And they're going to say, well, why do I have to do it a month early? Just explain to them that exactly what Karen just told you. And second point, Karen, when you do the calendar, if you can, and make it a little convoluted, thank you, I'll get it. Anyway, busy. When you have a start date and then there's nothing for 2 or 3 weeks, and then it has an end date. If you can do the one where you do the start and the end, and then they have a line, you know, that runs through the entire calendar for those dates. So somebody will look at that and go, oh, what's that? And they go back to the beginning and says, oh, it's you know, this contest or that contest. Because if you only have a start date and you only have an end date, people are going to look at the calendar and there's not going to be anything in the middle. And they're, "Phew, so what?" And then all of a sudden they see that end date come up and go, oh my gosh, we could have been doing this. So suggestions.
Yeah, I don't know if that calendar allows us to do the spread, but that's a good idea because then even for, it's like contest season, you could do the whole season so people know that it starts now and they better be done by.
Mhm. I got a note. I don't know what functionality we can do, but we'll do our best.
Never a doubt.
All right. Is there anything else?
Oh,
I heard you, Vicky.
we we start on time, we end on time. We're going to end maybe early. That would be even better.
Exactly. I will give you back 20 minutes of your day. We are going to call it a day.